Hey Caleb, this is Keaton Everett with ABC, going over your pitching video from camp. We're going to go through and talk about your motion, your mechanics, break it down frame by frame, and look at a couple of spots that we like to look at and analyze with the mechanics. So, overall, really solid from top down. It looks like you've had some pitching under your belt and some instruction, so that's good to see. Everything's working pretty good. So now we're going to go through and sort of pick you apart here. And so we'll initially start right off here. Wait for those hands to get going there. Okay, so what we look for initially, we look for balance and we look for posture. We kind of look at, a lot of guys don't really like to look at how we start. People are kind of more focused on how you finish. Kind of the other part, but so much of how we start dictates how we finish. That's something that we like to look at initially going forward. All right. So basically, what we want to look for is balance. We want to look for posture. You're not losing your balance. You're not popping up and coming out. So you see that you're doing a pretty good job at staying over your back leg. All right. Everything's really good over here. You can kind of see how you shift back a little bit. That's one nitpick that we like to see fixed is we want to try to start back over that back foot. When you get going, when you get runners on base, that little movement back just going to cause a tenth of a second, and it's just going to make you be slower. It's just kind of like a sprinter. The sprinter starting that starting block, their first movement's forward, so you want to make sure that we're starting back initially in our first movements forward. All right, and that's just something that is just an easy fix for you. All right. So one other thing too is we want to make sure that once that leg's going, you can see your eyes are down on that ground. Is make sure once that leg starts coming up, our eyes are staying locked on that target. Doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it's something that believe me, it definitely helps. Is once that leg starts coming up, eyes staying on that target. All right. So overall, pretty solid initially. All right, you can see eyes are still late. We'll see when your eyes start picking up. Looks like your eyes pick up the target there. So just initially get on. It's a big visualization. The more we can kind of lock in on that target, the easier it is to sort of see it in our brain and everything get going. All right. So now what we look for: hips staying closed, leading down the mound, and your hands. That ball breaks out of those gloves. So as we get going, you can see your hands starting to break. Hips are coming forward. You're getting some good drive down that mound. All right, so everything's really solid. Okay, so everything through there, really good. Okay, so now what we look at is foot strike. All right, so once that front foot first hits the ground, which looks like it's about right there, maybe somewhere in between these necks, between those two frames. You can see back heel starting to turn down. Hip starting to go. All right, this hip's starting to poke forward before that upper shoulder is starting to turn, called torque. All right, you're getting out, good extension, knees not over that front foot. You're staying back over that back hip. All right, this is a really solid position here. All right, you have pretty good elbows there, front legs out. You really match. All right, everything's really solid at your foot strike. All right, so now we will look at how that energy is getting transferred. You can see that torque, that hip right here starting to turn before that upper body. It's kind of turning a little bit at the same time. It's something that will get easier as you get a little bit stronger. What we like to see is that hip turn first before that upper body goes. So almost at this position, we'd still be a little bit closed off instead of turning. And again, that's just age and strength. But that will come as you get a little bit older. As you get older and you start getting some more strength in your legs, because you have a big stride length, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of weakness where this front legs, almost at 90 degrees. So it's just a little bit of losing that. I don't want to say you're overstriding, but I think it's just something of age and strength that. I think it's better to work on striding down the mound. So then when the strength comes, it'll get easier. But you kind of throw against your front foot, so you kind of throw against it, and it never really straightens up. And that's just a strength thing for me. And so initially what we like to see is not so much bend back here. All right, we want to try to get a little less bend, so kind of stay a little bit taller on that back leg. Just kind of get the feel of weight on that inside part of your foot, weight on that inside part of your knee. But when you bend too much, it causes you to kind of get out here, and this knee just kind of gets locked and it doesn't rotate forward. So this is basically your release point right there. All right, so your release point is here, but what you can see is your head is behind that front foot. All right, so because you're using your legs, because you're getting down that mound, you know, we got to make sure that we're able to stay through our legs to get out over our front foot. So, but your back foot's still on the ground. This is awesome. Don't see that in a lot of kids at all. So that's something very good to see. But all it is just trying to shift that weight out over that front foot a little bit more, so you can see your head and your chest get down over this front foot here. All right, so you're kind of more creating more of that triangle. And then what this leg's going to do is through your release points, it's going to start to straighten up, and you're going to finish, you know, with it almost straight right there. So then as you get down over that front foot, you know, now your knee at least should be starting to straighten up, you know, somewhere up in here, and you can see that head really doesn't ever get down over that front foot at all. And so it's just in my mind just more of a strength issue, nothing mechanical, because everything's really solid for you. All right, and can't harp on enough. Very impressive for somebody your age, especially that lower half. I love when kids have that, understand that lower half, because that's so much important in the mechanics. You know, that's where all that velocity comes from, and that's very good to see. So just make sure that, you know, you're keeping your eyes on your target. Keep up with your initial start. Everything looks pretty good, and then it's just a matter of kind of figuring out that lower half, getting that strength in there, to really use those legs to finish, to drive everything out over that front foot. But overall, man, very good, very impressive. So good job. Thanks for making it out into camp. Hopefully you had a great time, and we look forward to seeing you again with ABC.